he gets over this. Ali Vitale, thank you, and stick around. I think we might come back to you. Joining me now is Congressman Joe Neguse. He's a Democrat of Colorado. He's a member of House Democratic leadership. He actually nominated Leader Hakeem Jeffries for Speaker in the 11th vote that just happened. We're all getting a sense of the pecking order, I suppose, here, Congressman, that, you're a solid 11, I guess, is where you are in House leadership. By the way, I thought you did a good job. How are you feeling?
Well, it's good to be with you, Chris. I appreciate that. Look, House Democrats remain focused and united and unified. As I articulated on the House floor under the leadership of Hakeem Jeffries, we're ready to get to work for the American people. We are hoping that our colleagues on the other side of the aisle will finally get it together and be able to reconcile and resolve their differences so that we can actually get back to governing. But unfortunately, as you've articulated, this House Republican Conference seems disinterested and incapable of governing. And I think every American ought to ask themselves, if this caucus can't elect its own leader, how are they possibly going to govern and address the consequential challenges that we face as a country?
Yeah, I mean, sorry, you're a little tough to hear because it's very crowded in that room as everyone exits the chamber. It's fine. There's two ways this can go, and I want to sort of explore them each with you. So here's a good case scenario of watching this unfold, and this is my most optimistic case. Whoever becomes Speaker of the Republicans understands that if you try to run the House on a party line vote, you are ceding your fate to whatever 5 people that can get together to demand whatever. That's the math. If you're going to say we're going to vote on a party line, we can only lose 4 votes, any 5 Republicans with any specific beef on anything can screw you. But if you say we're going to go and negotiate with Democrats, we're going to negotiate with Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and look for their votes on big things, all of a sudden that leverage goes away. I'm not sure that I trust either McCarthy or whoever does become Speaker to take that lesson, but do you think that's a possible lesson?
I certainly think that you've articulated the binary choice that the House Republican Conference is faced with, and the most confounding part of it all, to me, is why they wouldn't choose the latter option. Leader Jeffries has made very clear that House Democrats have extended an open hand to reasonable members on the other side of the aisle who are committed to governing, who want to find consensus and to forge common ground. Unfortunately, House Republicans are uninterested in doing so, and the more that Leader McCarthy capitulates to the demands of the extreme right wing of his party, the more it becomes clear that governance is simply not in the cards with this particular House Republican Conference. So I don't disagree with you, Chris. I do think that's the choice that faces them. And unfortunately, it appears that they're making the wrong choice, certainly one that's not in the best interest of the American people, in my view.
Yeah, I mean, so on that latter point, this is what has me worried about some of the things I'm seeing coming out of the negotiations. Like some of them motion to vacate the chair. You need 5 members to do that or 1. I don't necessarily have a dog in that fight. It seems like it makes Kevin McCarthy or the Speaker's life a living hell if everyone could call for a motion, but whatever. But Patrick McHenry saying we're talking about spending makes me think that there are pledges that are being made here, particularly around the debt ceiling and particularly about rerunning the disastrous hostage-taking of 2011 and getting an agreement to do it this time that could have massively destructive consequences for the country. Are you worried about that?
I am worried, and I think every American should be concerned. I think that the concessions, the demands that Leader McCarthy is giving into will ultimately prove to be very problematic for the country writ at large as we address some of these key public policy challenges. You mentioned the debt ceiling. To the extent that the chaos and the confusion and the crisis that we are seeing today unfold in the House Republican caucus is a preview of what's to come, we should be very worried about the debt ceiling battle that looms large and, of course, the full faith and credit of the United States being put to the test and put to the brink by the House Republican caucus. There are also basic elements of governing, Chris, that are really important for the American public. The Farm Bill, reauthorization of the FAA bill, many other items that are certainly impactful to the American people that we'd like to work on, that we must work on. And I just, again, am very worried about what it means, a harbinger of things to come, if the Republicans are incapable of selecting a leader for the first time in 100 years.
What is the consensus right now on your side? I mean, right now it is we're united. We show up. We vote for Hakeem Jeffries. We vote as a unit on procedural motions like adjournment, like you just did. And we stick around as long as it takes for them to sort that out. Is that true a week from now?
Yes, Chris. The short answer is yes. As I said, I've been in the House for a few terms now. I have never seen the House Democratic Conference as united and as unified as it is today under the leadership of Hakeem Jeffries. And so we will do whatever we need to do to ultimately ensure that the House of Representatives remains a functional institution. And if that means continuing to come to the floor to cast our ballots on a 20th ballot or a 30th ballot, you name it, we'll be prepared to do that. I think the question is one that the Republican caucus ultimately needs to answer, which is at what point do moderate, more reasonable members from the other side of the aisle ultimately step forward to resolve this impasse so that we can get back to the business of governing and delivering for our constituents in the ways that the American public expects.
Let me ask you another question before I let you go and let you take a well-earned rest. I keep looking at you, all you guys all day and thinking, man, I hate being in a suit all day. I think I would vote to adjourn just to get out of it. But there was a conversation you were having with a representative from Florida by the name of Matt Gaetz. And I was just curious what you guys were talking about.
Nothing particularly substantive, really, regarding some of the procedural motions that were unfolding on the House floor.
It is a fun treat that we're getting here that there's no control over that camera up in the booth in C-SPAN. So we get to see everything that's going on, which is usually not the case. Congressman Joe Neguse of Colorado, thank you for making a little time after a long day. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris.